So, but wait. So you're saying that the black woman needs to be submissive to the black man, and that's the problem with the black woman at this point,
Well,
is that she's not submissive?
to a degree, yes. So let me ask you this: if you ask the average black woman to wash your feet, what do you think they're gonna say?
Well, let me ask you:
Huh?
if you ask your wife to wash your feet, is she gonna wash your feet?
Of course not.
And that's because she's what? That has nothing to do with being submissive, though.
It's one facet of it. It's always like.
So you think that women should be barefoot and pregnant?
Not necessarily. Not after age 41. No. At 26, yes. At 27, yes. Let me keep going. 41, that's the cutoff point. Go ahead, man.
I don't even know what to say at this point. Lamont's positions are, first of all, let me go ahead and drop the disclosure. Lamont Hayes' the positions on black women and the fact that they have too much mouth or whatever he may think are his own is not the necessarily the opinion of three black guys with a mic. It's maybe the opinion of one black guy with a mic, but the other, I don't know about Spudd. He might be on that same train, but
I'm not. Hey, listen, black women, you have earned the right to speak, to do your thing. So last week, Maynard said that if it wasn't for black women, then, the midterms is going to the hell in the handbasket. So without black women, according to Maynard.
Well, I know what you're saying, Spud, about black women have earned. I'm not going to say earned because I think that requires us to say that they had to do something special and unique above and beyond being born and being a person to some extent.
But they have.
No. Listen. When you're born, and if you believe, some of us believe in God, some of us don't, some of us whatever. But when you're born, if you believe that all people are created equal, then you believe that you don't have to necessarily earn the right to be respected by the person that you decide to share this life with.
But that's not true, Maynard. But we're not all created equal. We're not. And what this ambush that
pause,
you and Spud,
pause,
this ambush
pause.
Of you
Are you somehow
listening? What?
Are you somehow better than anyone else?
No. I didn't say better. I said we are all not created equal.
We are equal.
The statistics show that we're not created equal. The statistics show that you, as a 40-plus-year-old black man who has the same income credit score as someone who is non-black, has certain opportunities that you don't have, Maynard.
That's not the concept. That's not the concept of being created equal. That's
in the eyes of her, aka America, we are not created equal.
Listen to what I'm saying, Lamont. If you believe in God, or if you believe in some higher power, then America is just some foolishness. You believe. I'm asking you. You believe in Jesus, Lamont?
Now, are we talking the black Jesus
No,
or the white Jesus?
We're just talking about
of Macedonia Baptist Trinity Interdenominational Church. Which Jesus are we going with?
Do you believe in God? How about that?
Absolutely.
Do you believe he's the creator?
Yeah.
So then did he create you equal to everyone else? Or did he say, because Lamont's black, I'm going to make him less than? So
yeah, but that's on the spirit, and I'm saying.
Let's
get serious. We're talking two different levels. If you're going to go on that holier than thou, Pastor Wyden's on 7 Mile of Woodward kind of thought, okay, fine.
Hey, stop throwing shots. Stop throwing shots.
There was no shot.
I said created equal.
Because the church still ain't built, Spud. I got questions.
I said created equal.
The one on Woodward?
Yeah, it's still not built. It's been 12 years. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
So I don't think that a black woman has to necessarily earn the right or earn respect from her husband to have a say. I don't think that the husband has to earn respect from the woman. I think if you respect one another, you both have a say. You should be partners in this. That's
let's go back.
No. But are you going to let me defend my statement?
Well, I was trying to help you out.
Hold on. How about this? Hold on, Spud. Don't help him out. How about you make your statement, Lamont? Say what you need to say, Lamont. Make your statement, sir.
No. And I always refer back to this one episode of Good Time because I remember it as a kid. Sometime in the late 1960s or the 1970s, there was a government practice where if you wanted to have assistance from the government financially, you could not have a man in the home. Okay, I don't know what the program was, but I always remember that episode of Good Times where James had to leave the house when the social worker came to say, oh, no, there's no man in this house. So it's like ever since we were like dropped off in America, we as black men have always been a target. We have always been, put in a position to be taken out of the family unit. So I do think Spud is correct to a degree about earning or because of circumstances outside of the black woman's control, she had to do things that other nationalities did not have to do. You feel what I'm saying? They sometimes had to be stronger because that black man was attacked on so many other different levels, as we see today. I just saw some 5 minutes ago where the white police officer shot the black male in the back, and the police officer went home. But that's another story, so we'll get to that soon, probably a little later on. But
hold on, no. I think one of the things that you were saying, were you?
Correct
me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
This was a long conversation we had before we started.
And what was your basic premise?
My basic premise is that as October being, I'll make sure I got this right.
Domestic Violence
Awareness Month, which we're going to have, some people on the program to talk about that, which I do think is very important. I also am curious, is it possible for a woman to inflict domestic violence towards a man? Because in certain instances, I have personally seen women, whether it's generational or not, be very Angela Rye-ish.
Yo, back up off of Angela Rye. Back up.
I've seen it.
Right, but Lamont, what you're saying is that a woman having an opportunity to express herself and do so freely is abusive to you.
Well, if we want to go, and I think this is important, and we definitely need to get into this, about what is the real definition of domestic abuse or domestic violence, and sometimes it's verbal, Maynard. It's not always
but just because
to be very clear, that has absolutely nothing to do with Angela Rye, because it sounds like you're painting the picture of wait. It sounds like you're painting the picture of because a black woman is strong and because she voices her opinion that it provokes a man to actually inflict violence. And I want to be able to make sure that we separate that, because when you said that, they are Angela Rye-ish, that basically is saying
with the neck rolling, and we.
Even though it doesn't matter, if they're neck rolling or not. If they're neck rolling or if they're not neck rolling, it still does not even have anything to do with the fact that you still get to be abusive because somebody is neck rolling. We're not putting those two together. Okay, it's the same exact way with police, brutality. Because somebody does something, doesn't give you the right to shoot somebody.
The point is abuse is not, what I'm trying to say is we should always also put in the conversation of verbal abuse, not just physical.
Regardless, verbal abuse as well.
Put them together. That's all I'm saying. Let's put them together.
So if a woman, let me ask this part though.
Yes.
If a woman is strong, and she,
wait a minute.
Let me finish then. Maybe I'll help you understand where I'm coming from, or maybe I won't. I'm gonna try my best.
You won't.
If she's strong and maybe she decides that she speaks with her hand or she rolls her neck, do you consider that abusive?
Well, the physical part of the hand and the neck, no. But we have to look at what comes out of her
behavior.
Yeah. Well, I was out of her mouth. I was going to say something different, but out of her
mouth. So if she says something that you feel is, I guess let's say this. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes. Which is very important. I know we have fun. So that's a very serious subject.
Right. And as a result, it doesn't say abuse against women month. It doesn't say men abusing women month. It's Domestic Violence and Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And so we agree that that most often the stories we hear about are men abusing women. But we also agree that women can be abusive to men both verbally and physically as well, as much as emotionally and spiritually also. It happens. So I don't think that women have cornered the market on being victims of domestic violence. And
let me say this, Maynard, and I'm trying to do something.
It's not what you're trying to do.
You see the light? See the light, man? I'm just trying to shine the light and just say that domestic violence really it could be a two-way street.
It is a two-way street.
And that's
wait, in what way though?
And maybe that's not
in
the
what
right
way?
Or I think, as I was being comical, of shining the light that women can be the people who are giving the domestic violence.
Who are perpetrating
domestic violence, yes.
Certainly.
Yes. And what I'm saying is sometimes that can be masked as being strong. And yes, I was playing with the neck rolling or whatever, but I also believe, because you asked about the black and the white Jesus in that book.
I didn't ask about black and white Jesus. You just decided to throw that in.
I said Jesus, and I'll say the black Jesus because I like that one better. But in the book about the black Jesus, it talks about how,
Can I ask you, where does the black Jesus, come from? Where was he born? And where was the white Jesus born?
Yeah. Well,
I'm just curious to know.
It was just two sides of town, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Just sides.
All right. So this on 7 Mile in Myers, 7 Mile Livernois is Black Jesus, and then 7 Mile in Middlevale, 7 Mile in Farmington is white Jesus. Okay, that's fine.
I thought white Jesus was from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Okay. There's a black man, white man, Chinese man, and it was. So anyway, but here's what you made. Here's the point that you made, Lamont. You asked an Indian man about why his woman was walking 2 steps behind him, and he said that was the part of their culture. Now, in a lot of other nationalities...
Wait. Can you set that up a little bit, or just go back a little bit and share?
You said that you was outside taking the trash out, and that the elderly, older couple was walking. Now, in our neighborhood as well, we have a lot of Indians that, walk as well. I think that's a part of their culture as well. And you stopped him, and you said, excuse me, I just have a simple question. Why does your wife walk 2 steps behind you? He said that it was a part of our culture. I said to that is that the unfortunate part about black women in America is that our culture has been so disenfranchised that we don't have anything to that nature to be able to say this is our culture. Now, to go back to Maynard's point and to what it is that I was saying in regards to black women have earned the right to be able to speak up. When I say that, I say from slavery to what you say in the Welfare Act to the crack epidemic to now, black women have been holding down not just black men and black families, but America, period. So when I say they have earned the right to actually speak up and to actually be strong and to be confident, is because there have been plenty of times where there hasn't been a black man in a household, where there hasn't been a black father in a household, where a black woman had to raise a black man, where a black woman, has had to raise a family, where the mom was gone working 2 or 3 jobs and they had to, work their, raise their, sisters and brothers and so forth and so on. And then not only that, and Maynard, you can expand on this, as we dive into politics, but fighting their way up the corporate ladder. And this is not even just black women, but women, period. But black women fighting their way up, just to get a job in the 60s. Then from, being taken seriously, even to today, when we talk about Hollywood, where they're not even getting paid the same amount of money as men. So I would say that they have earned the right to actually stand right side by, the next to their, to their mate and say, no, I don't need to be standing next to you. 2 steps behind from you.
But Spud, I think, and I'm going to speak for Maynard, we are in 100.
Wait a minute. You don't
wait.
Me.
Come on. I know. I'm in total agreement with what you're saying. 150%. But I always just wanted to ask the question. And when you look at other people and their nationalities, how and why they operate. Because again, this couple that I see them every morning because, like you said, they walk really early. They're getting the exercise in. That was cool. And it just hit me like, wow, why is she always walking behind him? I said, and then one day I said, well, maybe he's just walking too fast. And then one day I was like, no, she literally is 2 steps behind him. And I just didn't understand. And I always said to myself, if I told my wife we were getting ready to go walk around the track, what if I told her to walk 2 steps behind me, being a black woman from Chicago? How would that look on the national news as my wife is probably physically beating me over the head with a frying pan? I don't know where she would get the frying pan from, but she probably would beat me in the head.
First question, I think there's some pieces that we should consider. That in several cultures, women are second-class citizens, right? We know in many of the Muslim countries, say be it Saudi Arabia, where they just here recently got the right to actually drive vehicles, in other places that women have to, for instance, cover their whole face because that's just part of their religion and their culture, where women can't have jobs or women can't come in contact with other people, be it men. I remember one time I learned from a Jewish gentleman in his particular practice of Judaism that he doesn't touch any women ever. Like, he won't shake hands with women. He doesn't touch any women other than his wife and his daughter. So he doesn't have any physical contact with women other than his wife and his daughter. He won't shake hands. He doesn't hug or show any affection to other women or anything like that. And I think in so many instances, a lot of what some of these things are caught up in is some repressive underlying fears of a woman's sexuality. And think about in many African nations for years and years and years, they in fact circumcised women. They cut off female genitalia because they didn't want women to experience joy of sex. And because they felt like if a woman can experience joy of sex, then quite possibly she may decide to have sex with more than one man, or she may leave me as her husband and go and be with another man. In the meantime, in many of those same cultures, that man could have multiple wives. So I think a lot of the whole idea that women should be subservient to their husbands or walk 2 steps behind or be seen and not heard are a lot of older, archaic, in many instances, ways of dealing with family structures. And I disagree with it. So, I don't know if that's what you were trying to say that when you spoke for me, but I'm speaking for me to say that.
Man, you did a great job. You brought it all full circle. You made it so palatable. And I just want to thank you, man. I think you did a great job with that.
The level of sarcasm in your voice is just
no, but on the real on the 100 though, I don't know what I was watching. It was something on PBS of what you said earlier, and I had no idea, and it was just it hurt my heart where, like you said, they were mutilating the bodies of young black girls. I don't remember what country it was in Africa, and when they said that was the reason why, I was like, that's barbaric, bro. You know what I mean?
But so
and
much
it's
of
like
you're right. It is barbaric.
I was like, come on, man. But again, my just analyzing, because some things I didn't know, like we just said about the Jewish person, I almost would just be curious to ask him why. Like, why would you have an issue if you're in a business meeting of shaking a female's hand, just out of curiosity? Because again, one of the disadvantages of me growing up in the area and time that I did is I was not exposed to other nationalities and the way that they do things. So some of these things are interesting. I tell this story all the time about my neighbor. I never forget. It was a Saturday and I saw him walking and I'm like, dude, got a fresh car. I'm like, did your car break down? You need a ride? And he was like, no, I'm going to Temple. And we always laugh about that because I said, I really didn't know. I didn't know that when you go to Temple on Saturday that you got to do the walking thing. So I think a lot of it is education, but I also think, again, as we talk about, further about domestic abuse and domestic violence, that I just want to make sure that we include in the conversation that it does include a verbal perspective. And I personally do think that Black women, should sometimes understand and know that they have the ability to be verbally abused to a very big, bulky, powerful Black man, and it probably hurts just the same. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about looking at both sides of that particular coin. So I think taking all of the fun out of it, that's the real meat of what I was talking about. And sometimes the neck rolling and the finger popping with the combination of a certain amount of language could be abusive. Because that's an exclamation point, bro. You're not going to tell me it's not.
Well, I think you got to, even dive deeper into where that comes from.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that, I don't know, and you guys can expand on this. I don't know if genuinely a woman is out to be abusive verbally. I think that comes from a space of hurt, neglect. It comes from some sort of.
It could be reactive.
It could be reactive. I mean, it's something that it's defensive. I mean, it's a lot, man.
Spudd, don't do that.
What?
Don't do that. You sat here and just told a lie. What you just read off the list. We got people in California and Texas and the Bahamas and all these people that listen to us, all of our people in Cleveland, and you just sat there and told a bold-faced lie.
That what? That it doesn't come from a space of hurt?
No, you said that women sometimes do not purposely, verbally abuse a man.
I don't think that a woman naturally is set out to be abusive to a man.
Not overall, but there are some cases where that happens and it's done purposefully.
Right, that's why he said sometimes.
Okay.
I just don't, but from I think that comes from an underlying space of some sort of background and some sort of hurt that is making, a woman be that way. That's just my position on that.
Well, I think we can agree that there's several reasons.
Wait a minute. You cannot speak for me. Let me see where you're going first.
All right.
Okay.
I think we can agree that there's...
This is a two-way street in this relationship, buddy. You hear me?
Don't be abusive, Lamont. you a little, and then you're going to go. I see you rolling your neck a little bit too.
You know what I'm saying? I'm Angela Ryan.
Stop bringing Angela Ryan to this.
Yeah, we love Angela Ryan.
Angela Ryan going to say these cats keep telling people I'm abusive. We going to get sued.
Listen, I love when she come on CNN. I'm tuning in. You hear me? Because I know what I'm gonna get. If she got the cornrows too, it's popping. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry. I would say let her get on Fox. That's what I'm waiting on. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I think we all can agree that there's several. That abuse can be a woman abusing a man as well as a man abusing a woman. That abuse can be physical. Abuse can be verbal. Abuse can be emotional or spiritual, or it could be any combination of all those factors. And I think we also understand and agree that abuse can come from many different facets. Some people have seen abuse in their homes, and they, as children or as young adults, and they don't know how to have proper conflict resolution. They don't have proper conflict resolution skills, and they learn to hit or punch or hurt other people. Some people have been hurt emotionally or physically or both, where they don't know how to gain agreement with someone else. They think that agreement comes through force. I'm gonna make you agree with me because I'm gonna punch you in the face. And some people abuse people because they've been invited to abuse people. That sounds interesting and different. It almost sounds a little bit like blaming the victim, but I think we'll find out when we do get a chance to speak with Charlotte and Joan, that some women have been in abusive relationships, or men who have been in abusive relationships, and they are accepting of that abuse and almost kind of, there's a joke, I forget who it was, as a comedian, I think it was Robin Harris years ago, who said, I got home at 3 a.m. and my wife got home at 2. So you ain't beat her? He said, hell, why would I beat her? I just got in the house myself. So and then the woman says, that's the way I know my husband loved me. He beat me. And some of the stuff is old. And I think what we start to look at is, some of the connections to slavery and how they did things. If you look back at the movie Color Purple, when Mr. told Harpo to beat Sophia, and that was, that movie was set, like, I guess in the 20s or what have you. That was how we dealt with each other. If your child didn't act right, you beat them. And there's a fine line between a spanking, maybe a swat on the tail, and beating someone. And beating on people is just that's not a successful discipline method. When you think about having children, that's not a successful negotiation tactic when you're married or you have a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's
so man, let me ask this question, and I'm glad you said that. And I don't want us to give too much or way more on this domestic violence, even though it's important. And again, we were making light of certain things because it's a very serious thing. But let's talk about beating kids. Can we talk about that? Because as a disclaimer, I don't have any children, never had any, but, I have been a part of a lot of young people in their journey as, I'm getting ready for one of them who has a 21st birthday party, and this boy wants to have a black tie dinner at 21, but that's another story. But it's like the older I get, the more I'm starting to look at exactly what you said, the beating. And sometimes, like when we were younger, I don't know if I was ever a recipient of a extension cord or the iron, not the iron, but the hanger. And I just think going out and getting the switch, and it just made me think back to slavery time. And it's like, why would a parent do something like that to a child? It's almost like the slave master beating the slave, which sometimes it was always about beating the big black male slave and watching the other slaves watch to kind of control their behavior. So am I off base by me being a non-parent of saying that beating children, even sometimes spanking them? Because now, Maynard, you can speak to this. You have a beautiful young daughter, right? I feel like you could talk to a young person, especially a young female or a young child, and do just as much discipline with your voice than you can with a switch. Now, Spud, you had a young man that may have went to the candy store and put some 9-letters in his pocket and ran out, or put a bag of chips in his backpack. I mean, do you always got to beat the kid? I mean, how does that work? Or can you discipline them verbally? How does that work?
I think, you do better when you know better, right? And I think that from a post-traumatic, slave syndrome, as Dr. Joy, what's her last name? Joy, I forgot, DeGruy, I think. If you never watched her post-traumatic slave syndrome thing, you should watch that. But, going back to even the domestic violence part in slavery, and I want to kind of expand on something that, Maynard said, and I'll move it forward to the, spanking part. I remember I had a friend, and this is when in high school, and we would be walking to the arcade. She was in a relationship with one of my best friends, and he was abusive to her. And literally, we would be walking down the street, and he would just literally turn to her and just punch her in the face. And we'd be like, yo, what the hell is going on?
How old was he, Spud? How old was he?
This is 16, 17, this is high school, And so his point was, this is the way that I've been taught to keep my woman in check. And from her perspective, to what Maynard was saying, this is what I equate love to be. This is how I know he loves me. Jeez. And I'm like, this is not love at all. This is not love at all. But again, when you going back to, for what most women say, I saw my mom get abused. I saw my dad abuse my mom. Their dad saw their, dad abuse their mom. It's generational. And it could go all the way back to slavery, to the point of we equate physical abuse with some sort of love, which it is not. But in your brain, and I was just trying to make sense of it all, to think that I didn't grow up that way, and I did watch my grandfather abuse my grandmother, you know, but I didn't grow up that way to the point to where I was like, yo, I just want to just punch my girl in the mouth. And that's how I know that, you know, that's how I, equate love. In regards to my son, from a generational perspective, you just thought that, yo, this is the way that I'm supposed to handle things because this is the way that I was taught to do it. Right. My parents beat me. I'm supposed to beat my kid. We never looked at the situation to say, yo, that's the way that they did it, and that's not the way that I'm supposed to do it, especially now in this generation. This generation is so fragile that they can't understand the things the way that we, the way that we endured, if you ain't hearing about the street lights come on, it's on and popping. You better be here by the street lights come on, which is a whole slave reference in itself, or not, or racial reference within itself. So that was my point of view in regards to abuse. I only looked at it like, yo, when I was getting in trouble, I was getting my butt beat. So this is the way I got to discipline my son, especially being a son.
I think that there are acceptable ways of using spankings or physical discipline, and there are extremely unacceptable ways of using physical discipline. And it's not really a fine line. There is a difference between, particularly with a small child that may be wearing Pampers or a little pop on the behind that gets their attention, and they may in fact be afraid. Is usually, but when we start seeing people who are hitting their children and breaking skin, or some of the things that you kind of alluded to, Lamont, like grabbing extension cords and belts or whatever the case may be. And hitting out of anger instead of out of trying to help someone understand the seriousness and the severity of what the lesson that you're trying to deliver. My father gave me whippings. My mother, I received that type of discipline. And I remember even in school, I remember my father turning to, one of my teachers, Miss Smallwood, in third grade, and so you got the green light. If he has to get a penalty, you go for it.
What's the green light, man? What is the green light?
Get after it. And Miss Smallwood gave me my fair share. And I can say this, at least with my parents and the community I grew up in, I earned every spanking, every whipping I got, I earned that. No one put their hands on me. My father didn't beat me. As some people would joke, like, I'm going to give you this whipping just because you're going to do something later on. Whatever. No, my father, and there's another thing, and it got to a point in my life, I can't remember how old I was, but it got to a point where my father was like, you know what, I'm going to sit down and talk to you. And he was disciplining me verbally, and he wasn't even, I remember begging my dad, well, just give me the whipping. Because he hit me with, I named you Maynard after myself. I named you Junior after me because I thought you wouldn't disappoint me in these streets. And now, you out here and you just are a disappointment to me right now.
What did you do, man? What did you do?
I have no idea.
You put your own self on punishment. I mean, my grandmother did the same thing. My grandmother got to the point.
He hit me with that. I was like, whoa, can I just get a whipping?
My grandmother did the same thing when she was like, you know what, you too old for me to, be out trying to spank you. And then it got to the point where I would get in trouble and she'd be like, God, I just can't be, I can't even believe how disappointed I am in you. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put myself on punishment for 2 weeks. Yeah, no, because that was a deeper hurt for me.
That was a deeper
than
hurt?
It was for me to get a spanking.
Serious. When my dad said he was ashamed that he had named me after him at that point, I was like, oh, I just felt like crawling under the house.
But you know what you're saying, and that's what I said or tried to say earlier. Sometimes the psychological level of discipline is more. It hits home more because same thing like you said. I remember when I was in middle school, you were not. They would let us go home. No, take that back. Elementary school. I might have been in the 5th grade or 4th grade. We could walk home for lunch, but you had to have a note. So I made this note up that I could go home for lunch. We'd go to my buddy's house and whatever. And then we ended up going to the store and I was stealing some potato chips. And they called the police on us and my daddy had to come get me from the police station. The way he talked to me, he didn't even yell or anything. He made me feel so bad. I cried for 2 days, bro.
I know what you mean.
I cried for 2 days. I just didn't. I couldn't even look at him. And dude did not give me a spanking. He didn't do none of that. He's like, I can't believe he hit me with I go to work, I do this, I provide this and that, and you got money in your pocket because they used to give us like $3, $4 for lunch or whatever it was, and you steal it?
You got that much for lunch?
Yeah, we got $3.
Damn, you had a big lunch.
$2.50.
Hey, God, I got $3 for lunch.
Steak is
right.
$3.
I mean, orange drinks are they making it.
I think our lunch is like $85 for 85 cents for the lunch plus the drink was like $1.10.
No, I think we were at $3 at or $2.50. Maybe it was $2.50. Whatever it was. I just remember at that time, as I look back, because I can honestly probably count on maybe one, throw a couple extra fingers in there of all of the spankings or beatings or whoopings or whatever it is that I got throughout my childhood, and we didn't get that many. It was more of the verbal, psychological discipline that I remember more than anything else. Mm. So, who knows?
The psychological discipline really got in your head, though. That psychological thing was serious. When my dad hit me with that, I was just like, I can't. Now, I think that, a lot of people, particularly black folks, we have always seemingly, at least all I remember is, a spanking was what was going down. A beating was going down. Remember, in good times, James was going to beat the little boy that was friends with Michael.
Right. He was quick to get that belt.
Quick, right. And everyone was afraid of, Dad's going to put it to you. One time he was going to give Thelma a whipping, right? And, that was like the normal course of order for so much. In all of our culture, it seemingly was the normal course of order. What's happening? Mama was always going to beat Raj.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Time, same thing.
Which we should go back to. Not in a physical abusive way, but in a way of the village. Because I think that is where a lot of, black people not being able to unify. We had that unity. Going back to what you were saying, Maynard, about, you got a spanking in school. I mean, Mr. Hostler would spank us. And when you said that, I was thinking like, there's no way now that a teacher could ever even put their hands on a kid now. No. Do you know how much outrage?
It's illegal in certain places, Spudd.
I mean, but I would run home when Mr. Hostler would give me a spanking, and my grandmother would be like, "Oh, well, good for Mr. Hostler. What'd you do?" And I'm like, "But the white man gave me a spanking, Mama. He spanked me." Oh, okay. Well, you on punishment, because you obviously did something.
Right.
But now, ain't no way in the world you'll have a whole Al Sharpton and everybody up at the school. But I would say we need that sense of if I see you doing wrong, if I see Marley doing wrong, I should be able to check Marley and be okay with that.
Right.
And then you be able to check that, that situation and reinforce it. But we don't have that anymore.
I grew up in a neighborhood. We had to, God rest her soul, she's passed on to glory now, but there was a woman that grew up, a woman that lived across the street. She was my grandmother's age. And her name was Miss Virginia. And I love me some Miss Virginia. She was amazing. But Miss Virginia had, every year, for whatever reason, Miss Virginia gave her kids Hot Wheels. Remember the Hot Wheels, the cars and the track? And the orange track was made of plastic. I don't know why she kept buying this orange track.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're supposed to get beat with the racetrack, too.
You're supposed to get beat. No, you're not supposed to get beat.
I forgot about the racetrack,
bro.
Let
me tell the story because I know my main man, William Elmore, is listening to this. She had the green light to give you a spanking, and her judgment on why you were getting a spanking and how much of a spanking you were supposed to get. She could give me a spanking, and my father knew that if she gave me a spanking, that I earned it outright. That I did something that required that she disciplined me, and she would say, and I'm going to tell your father when he gets home too. And he would be like, Miss Virginia had to give you a spanking? You did, like you said, Spud, you did something wrong. And she told me what it was, and there was no argument. the village was critical and important. And I respect and revered Miss Virginia in such a way that I would never say, I can't believe this woman did this to me. No, I was, while not physically or biologically one of her children, I was one of the children that she felt responsible for, and we need that back. You're right, Spud.
Well, with all due respect to Miss Virginia, with all due respect.
You've been the black sheep of this whole show, so tread lightly on me.
With all due respect to Miss Virginia, I just feel like in 2018, I don't know if all the potential Miss Virginias out there should be out there beating these kids, man.
No, nobody should be beating kids.
Not all of. I mean, my mother was a grade school teacher, and I remember my mother. She taught at one school, like 7th or 8th grade, called Warner, and then later on she wound up transferring to another school called William C. Lewis, and it was K through 3. And I remember that mothers used to come to school and to the school she worked at, and they would curse out teachers. They would like, you ain't going to talk to my kid this way. And all of a sudden, that was, when I was probably in high school, and then just 10 years earlier, a lot of those girls who were coming up to the school who were cursing out teachers were kids that my mother had taught when they were in 8th grade. So imagine this: you were in 8th grade, 10 years later, you have a child old enough to be in kindergarten, 1st or 2nd. So we lost something in how our parenting is concerned, because now we're talking about, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls who have 5-year-old children or 6-year-old children, and they don't understand the concept of parenting or the village.
Right.
And part of that is, part of the reason why they don't understand is because here they are at 20 with a 7-year-old.
Right.
They've been raising kids as kids. So, that's a problem. We have to slow down. And so, this topic is deep, and it goes all over the place. It winds everywhere. We're talking about
which kind of circles back to domestic violence. It kind of circles back to domestic violence because, like you said, you have, kids out here raising kids and they don't know. And, I remember, shout out to, my man, from New Era Detroit, Zeke from New Era Detroit, my man, Deshaun Franklin, Trick, and, just a bunch of people who were on a panel, the other day, a couple of weeks ago, that I hosted. And, one of the guys, was talking. It was a young kid who was a senior in high school. And we were asking him, because we were talking about the generation gap and what does the younger generation need from the older generation and vice versa. And he was saying the younger generation needs for the older generation to put us back in check. And that was such an eye-opener. And he expanded on it by saying, nobody's giving us a hug. Nobody's telling us that we're going wrong. Nobody is, pulling us to the side. Nobody's pulling our coattails. Nobody is really, getting in our stuff. And that is extremely important because you got kids out here who are raising kids. They don't know. Nobody is pulling these kids to the side and saying, look, you don't need to be with this type of guy. You don't need to be with this type of girl. You need to walk away from this type of abuse. If your girl is talking to you in this particular way, then you don't need to, stand for that. If your man is talking to you, belittling you, speaking to you in this type of tone, saying things that are negative to you, you deserve better than that. You don't need to be with that type of person. There's not enough people pulling, people to the side, especially when you 16 years old, your dad wasn't there. Your mom out working, you got a baby, the neighborhood D-boy comes, yeah, girl. It's the Roxanne Shante story. Yeah, girl, you look good. You don't know. He the best thing you done ever had. He treating you like love and royalty in the whole 9 yards until the control comes in. And then, because he's done all of these things for you, you feel obligated. And you stuck in this scenario, you don't know how to get out, and you in this controlling, abusive relationship, and you don't know how to get out, and you stuck. Your kids see that, they go through the same thing. It's not enough of us pulling each other to the side, especially these young kids, and some of these damn adults too. Shout out to my man Jason, Wilson, who just started he's had this thing, the Cave of Adula, for a long time, where he teaches young boys about martial arts. And I tell him, and discipline and so forth and so on. And I'll tell him all the time, like, Jason, like, you need this program for men. There's
True.
so many men that just don't know. 45-year-old men, never been taught, never been checked, never been pulled to the side.
That's
know
the
any
problem,
better.
man. That's been a problem when we decided, for whatever reason, that you can't talk to my kid, you can't say nothing. There's a scene that we all know from a movie that we've all seen, Do the Right Thing, where the mayor, right, Ozzie Davis's character, runs across the street and hits and tackles the little boy and gets him out of the way of a speeding car. And the mother shows up and says, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, the boy he made a mistake, wasn't paying attention, whatever. He's okay. Everything's going to be, he's probably just scared, that's all." And she turned to him and said, "I won't have you question how I raised my son. I won't have his daddy question how I raised my son. You stay out of our business." And, what I'm saying? Like, yo, he just saved your kid's life. And he's just saying, what, it's a mistake. Things happen. And she went to another level.
Was her neck rolling?
Spud, are you taking us to a break here, my dude?
On that note, ladies and gentlemen,
was her neck rolling?
Let's go to a break. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to Three Black Guys with the Mic.
No more boys will be boys.
No more, what's the big deal?
No more, it's just the way he is.
No more, he just has a temper.
No more, but he's such a nice guy.
No more, but he has such a bright future.
No more, not my problem.
No more. I'll say something next time.
No more, why didn't she tell anyone?
No more, why doesn't she just leave?
No more, I'm sure they'll work it out.
No more, she seems fine to me.
No more, what was she wearing? No more, she was drunk.
No more, he was drunk.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more, she never said no.
No more, not in this family.
No more, not on this team.
No more, we don't talk about that.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
With the mic, is now time for the cactus of the week. This is where somebody says some stupid-ish. They got to choke on them words. Maynard?
We all have been disappointed by celebrities who we thought were friends, in our head at least. I think that's a Wendy Williams thing. That's my friend in my head. Or people that we kind of looked up to. And for years and years and years, there have been celebrities or politicians that we've supported and been behind and cheered for and rooted for. Sometimes we find out later that these people have differences of opinion with us. And it's okay. Because somebody is wrong on an issue doesn't mean we don't have to love them. Or because we love somebody doesn't mean that we can't disagree with them. But it's come a point, and I'm tired of accepting this or allowing this to go. But last week's rant in the White House by Kanye West is cactus worthy. It's cactus worthy on several notes. A, it's dangerous to allow Kanye West to suggest this narrative of black welfare families as the stereotypical black household when that's not true. That is to excuse the fact that there are several white households that are on welfare, or several Asian or Indian or any type of race household who is using welfare. Also, let us not forget the types of welfare that we don't call traditional welfare. Like when the GI Bill was originally introduced, it only went to white GIs. So be it, loans from the VA. Let us not forget about other types of welfare. When Donald Trump, for instance, can claim that he lost several $900,000 and not pay taxes for several years, or that while Jared Kushner's a New York Times report came out just earlier this week that Jared Kushner has quintupled his income. Quintupled, that's not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 times his income in the past few years, and has paid little to no income tax on those dollars, or that we fund in public goods, as I said with Wayne Bradley 2-3 weeks back, we fund with as a public good things like lighthouses and private airports that they get the benefit of using the Federal Aviation Administration or the Coast Guard, but they don't pay for those things. That is a form of welfare as well. So Kanye, you know, please be careful how you say things. Also, he doesn't have to be 100% wrong in this instance, where he said there's some issues where the 13th Amendment exists that we need to, he initially said abolish, and I think he made a mistake, and then he came back and said amended. But this is the thing, Kanye. God bless your energy and all that you want to do. I'm tired of us calling Kanye some kind of genius. Let's be honest. If he's a genius, that means that anybody who works at Kinko's is a genius, because, you know, all you've done is copy other music, quite honestly. The biggest hit that we know him for up front is Through the Wire, which was really just Shaka Khan's Through the Fire sped up. There's nothing genius about that. But because you have a diarrhea of the mouth and some kind of crazy word salad, and then say you always blame it on being, I don't know, bipolar or having some type of mania, or we have to accept somehow that is because of his mother's death or whatever the case may be. This is acceptable. This is unacceptable. First of all, you're wealthy and you have money, power, and means to have the best doctors diagnose you, provide you with medicine, and hire people to be in your corner to help you. Understand how that you need to take. My dude, get PillPack. Just get it. It's okay. Go online, pillpack.com. But for you running your mouth and saying the dumbest ish that I've ever heard in front of America, coming to the White House in, what was he wearing, like a sweatshirt or some kind of button-up flannel shirt, a baseball cap, and a pair of sneakers? A hoodie. And bring in Jim Brown, who looked like, I don't even want to get into Jim Brown. Jim Brown, you are so insignificant today. As Evelyn Lozada might say, you a non-effing factor. The both of you, get on both sides of this cactus and eat this cactus like corn. And I hope for this moment, for what you said and those words, you choke on those words in this cactus.
I'm sorry. Can I? And I know we want to rule out Kanye, you know. I'm thoroughly embarrassed by Kanye. But I want to kind of dive into real quick before we go. What was the meeting about again?
It's supposed to be about prison reform.
Okay, so they were there to talk about prison reform, and what was Jim Brown there for? To talk about prison reform?
You know, let me say this. I think Jim Brown was there to try to cement his first Negro status. I've always maintained that there's this concept of how a lot of black people can be. They could be the first Negro or the only Negro. They're the first Negro to do this or the only Negro doing that. Or sometimes they could be the first and only Negro. And Jim Brown, several years ago, was very instrumental and very important in starting his organization called the American program. And there was lots of hope that Jim Brown was going to do something. And he's not had the level of success with that program that I think he thought he was supposed to have. We've always been waiting for that. And I think he's looked at Steve Harvey and Kanye West as people that he can ride their coattails along with Donald Trump and say, hey, there's not a Negro doing this with Donald Trump. So I'm gonna cement my status as being the only or the first Negro. Now, he can't be the only Negro because of Steve or because of Kanye or because of, I don't know, Herman Cain or any other, Lamont's uncle Ben Carson. But he just wants to be relevant. And Jim, being relevant that's not for you. You're supposed to be a leader, and you're not a leader. You really are just being whack. And you're just whack. You're just looking for a photo op. And you're not doing
because the sad part about it is
significance.
because the sad part about it is because there was and I don't know, Lamont, if you saw this or not on Instagram, but there was like a meme, I guess, or, a post that was out that said that, Kanye West talked about, prison reform and doing, things in Chicago and, all these things that he talked to the president about. But none of those things were caught on camera. And I don't even know if they had that conversation or not. But, the things that I guess that were talked about in the lunch still did not translate when he was on camera. Going back to your point, Maynard, it was so thoroughly, and I didn't even think about the fact that he was not even in a suit. Not that he should have been in a suit, but he should have been in a suit. To be in a hoodie in the Oval Office or in the White House is already disrespect. That's already disrespect. Even today, when he was with, the president of the Uganda, he was still in a hoodie.
And it's not just the fact that we want you to dress up to show respect for this office. It's when business people get together to do real business, when we're talking about changing the way the country operates, when we're talking about trying to figure out how we can introduce legislation, you just have respect for yourself, but try to get somebody to take you seriously. And you look like a freaking idiot. You look like an idiot.
Here's my thing. Because I watched it, I know you did too. I watched Hannity. I watched Tucker Carlson, and I watched the right. I like Mark Levin, and I listened to his radio show because I wanted to hear what they had to say. And I was just amazed by, how they create these unnecessary narratives. And I was watching Tucker Carlson, and he was talking to, a Democrat, and he was talking about why is it that the Democrats and the liberals do not want for Kanye West to speak his mind and go against what Democrats, want. And that is to just, vote black. And why is it wrong, or why is the liberals and the Democrats making Kanye out to be the bad guy? Because he's challenging the conversation that black people should only vote for Democrats. That's not the case. I didn't say, and I don't think that Kanye said it, and I don't think that Black America only wants for black people to vote for Democrats. That ain't the case. It is a matter of voting for the right person and making sure that what it is that you are saying is articulate enough to be able to comprehend, make people be able to comprehend what it is that you're saying. And everything that he was saying in the White House made no sense. Here was the crazier thing that I was yelling at the TV about. Kanye West didn't even vote. He didn't even vote in the election. He had no participation in the 2016 presidential election. Why is he even to your point, why is he an MFing factor? Why is he even somebody who has a voice? Why is he somebody who is getting this much attention, especially from the Trump administration? We ain't even vote for the man.
You know what? Lamont said that last. Did you say that last week? Why are we talking about Kanye West?
Oh, Lamont left us?
No, he's giving his auntie look. I'm disappointed in you, nephew look.
Are you not talking to us, Lamont?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay.
All right.
You're not talking to him.
Lamont is definitely disinterested. So let me say this last thing on this.
No, it's not that I'm disinterested. I told you two Negroes. Kanye doesn't exist anymore. The only reason why, and again, I don't want any bad to come to anybody. The only reason why he hasn't went to the bridge and jumped off yet, because we keep paying attention to him. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop paying attention to dude. That's what he thrives on, is people paying attention to him. You know what I'm saying? And he has no idea. He's playing checkers when those people at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue are playing chess. He has no idea that it was the ultimate slave master dynamic and how he was used. Because like you said, I watched the whole Fox thing, and it was like, he's so dumb. He has no idea the energy that he gave Donald Trump to make him win even more? He has no idea. He's not even just that smart.
Well, I mean, the problem is first of all, and I appreciate what you're saying about 1600, but it's not 1600. It's 310 First Street in Southeast, which is the head of the GOP.
I got that. I got you.
And we're on the same page, but that's where the real cherry picking of data points and sound bites is occurring, where they can convince other people that Kanye West speaks for black folks.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because I was quiet.
You on the right page.
And you said this when we did the live. There were people that were dying in the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. My own dad, who lives in Southeast Georgia, who suffered some damage of where he lived. There are people still to this day that, I think I read something this morning that were asking for aid because of the hurricane. And this clown from the south side, let me be careful with that. From Chicago, because I don't know exactly where he's from, because I was also told that he wasn't really born in Chicago, which we could talk about how people claim certain things, because Anita Baker was not born in Detroit. She was born in Toledo. I just always love to say that because they say she's a Detroit girl, but she's not. Whatever.
Hater.
Anita Baker.
Big up.
No, I'm just saying.
My haters.
but he has
Anita Baker like that.
No. Kanye thinks that it was cool that while people were dying in Florida, he was on every news channel live. Live. The television is just what Farrakhan said it was. I remember when I was a little kid, he said the television, it's a tell-lie-vision. That thing is telling you a lie visually. So they put this dumb dude on there, and I'm going to call him dumb, as he was doing all, and we can try to talk about, well, what he said, and this hurt my heart. And I know in these streets, it's a little different. But when I saw Jay Prince on Instagram praising Kanye because he talked about Larry Hoover, I said, oh, my God, the slave master gave us a crumb instead of worrying about the whole pie. Because we're going to sit here and talk about, we might let Larry out, or, we can talk about the 13th Amendment. But you dummies are keeping your eye off of the ball, which is what they've always done. While you worried about this little piece, they over here doing the big thing over here, and they using this boy at the same time because mentally he doesn't understand what kind of game that they're playing on him, and it's just he sent us back, bro.
This is the question, and this is really, really challenging. What kind of adult male? Kanye's 40 plus now, right?
Allegedly.
Okay. Is out here talking about Donald Trump being a father figure to him. I'm really blown away by that. Like, he's 41. Kanye's 41 years old this past June. And you are saying that you identify with Donald Trump as a father-like figure. So much of hip-hop has come out against Kanye. T.I. basically, T.I. blasted.
Murdered him.
T.I. blasted.
Diddy
saying, yo, my dude, you need to, somebody tell this fool to call me because you done got out of pocket. T.I., what did he say? I don't know. T.I. called him a Sambo. Questlove definitely pointed out that there's a danger in reinforcing the stereotypes of blacks, being the face of welfare, and so on and so forth. And I feel like, I had a friend of mine say that he was pulling out his, he was dusting off his fashion game, so he's going to pull out his Yeezys. And I thought about that. When you juxtapose what Kanye has done and how he bragged about all the money that he brought to Adidas and his fashion game on that side with what Nike is doing with Colin Kaepernick, as much as I got to let Lamont down with this, I'm not, and I got a couple fresh pair of new Adidas in the past, 3-4 months. I can't rock out like that right now.
Well, first of all, first of all, in Spudd and Maynard, you lied again because we're supposed to be wrapping this up. But see again how this clown has us overstaying our welcome in the show realm. But Adidas was long, again, I'm 48 years old. Before this ass clown, Kanye West was, I don't even know his age, but Adidas was way before he was even alive.
I got that.
So let's not address those, as Slim Thug would say, those weird-looking shoes that those weird people wear equate with the brand of Adidas. Because Adidas is about top 10, Adidas is about shell toe, it's about a Patrick Ewing, it's about a patent leather, which is long before that ass clown of a Kanye West, and that just that trashy looking what they call fashion. That's not what we associate with.
If Adidas is aligning itself with Kanye, I can't stand with Adidas until they fix that.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I know they don't care. They don't care about me. Let me ask you this. If you
have a life insurance company that has a history of owning slaves, do you cancel that policy? If you bank with a company who has a history of owning slaves, do you close that account? Because if that's the case, man, you might as well turn off your damn electricity in your house.
Can I speak this time?
Exactly.
Okay.
So don't come down that shit about.
Wait a minute. We ain't cursing on the podcast right now. You know,
we're cursing on the podcast
for the radio. That's still. Oh, this for the radio.
It's for the radio, dude.
Look, I mean, certainly there are organizations that have made mistakes in the past or have done things, not even made a mistake. They've just done. Hold on.
Slavery.
Okay, let me. There are organizations that have participated in behaviors that are absolutely contrary to everything I believe in. And there are organizations that have participated in those kinds of activities and have corrected their record. Some of which they corrected genuinely and some of which they corrected by just being shamed into correcting. Those that have done so genuinely, I can, at this point you look around and you say, okay, there's this bank, and this bank. I need a bank. I wish that I could go with the, such and such bank or the so-and-so credit union. But sometimes you look around and say, I travel as a result of being a traveler. I need to be able to get my money at ATM machines or have the security of knowing that the bank is large enough to handle the types of transactions I may be doing. I went to Japan and my credit union just couldn't understand. Like, you're in Japan. We don't let you take $100. And so I need a Bank of America, if you will. But
wait. I'm glad you said that. Here's the list. Part of the list: Bank of America, Aetna, AIG, Harvard University, JP Morgan Chase, New York Life,
University of Virginia,
University of Virginia, Princeton, USA Today, Wells Fargo. So you mean to tell me what you whatever? Talk about, well, I don't want to associate. I'm going to be with Cat. But you run your ass down there and give Bank of America $12 a month for a checking account that only got $18 in it.
My God, why you got to blast my checking account, man? I'm trying to get some direct deposits in there right now. I'm trying to get some direct deposits, man.
No, not you per se, man. I'm just saying, if we want to be 100, it's funny that the black people always talk about athletic wear and we're going to stand with Cap. I'm not standing with Cap and saying that me giving Nike $100 and I don't know, what do Air Force Ones cost now?
I don't know. I don't buy them. I can't afford them.
$9, I think.
So
I only got $18 in the account, man. Right. They're going to take 12 of that.
$99 on a shoe that they probably made for 12, right? That's a pretty big margin they got. Talking about I'm going to stand with Cap.
Let me say this, though, Lamont. It's not that I'm standing with Nike necessarily.
Can we go back to watching football now, or we still off the football?
Listen, what did you say? What did you say, Spud? This is the extended version of the podcast.
I was just saying. I mean, I was in Kalahari yesterday, and I was trying not to watch because I was like, God, dog, the football is on, and I'm in the big jacuzzi, and I'm outside, and it's heated, and they got the big screen TV, and I'm like, no, I can't watch because I'm broke. I was like, well, wait, should I watch it? Can't watch it. Can't watch. And are we watching football, or are we not watching football?
You know why, Spud? Because we're so spread all over the place. One week I got to stand with Cat. Then the next week I got to fight because Reverend Al said this. Then here comes Joanne Reed. She said we got to do this. Then here come Angela Rye. We got to go to the CDC.
You got a problem with Angela Rye for sure.
To back up
and then I got to fight Donald Trump. Then I got to support Stormy Daniels. Then I got to
wait, whoa.
Why you got to support Stormy Daniels? When you start rocking with Stormy?
y'all didn't get the alert. They just do.
Wait.
So, but that means that you have to support her?
Ride, but we dissing Angela Rye, but we standing with Stormy Daniels. How does that work?
She was trying to take down T-Rump. Then I got to worry about T-Rump. Then I got to worry about the Saudi Arabian government. They done I'm supposed to care about them kidnapping the journalists, and I still got to worry about the kids on the west side of Detroit. Right, they got shot. The other kids and shout out to Stacey Static, because Stacey was talking about on her Facebook Live. Stacey Static is a radio personality in St. Louis, and just the crime that's going on in the city and the county of St. Louis that we hear nothing about. So it's like, yo, dog, I'm just fatigued. And then y'all want to come on here and talk about Kanye West?
Okay, we're done.
Baby, ass monkey.
All right, everybody who's listening, rewind back to the point when I gave Kanye West the cactus and just delete that portion of the show, because we're not talking about him no more.
Okay, I'm sorry. Man. We'll take off radio because I said ass monkey.
No, I think we're okay.
I
don't think it's smart, but I think it's okay.
You should have switched that, right? I said ass monkey.
You keep saying it, though. You keep saying it. Stop saying it. Stop saying it.
I got it for monkey, you know what I'm saying? So I go with ass monkey.
Okay, let's just...
That's not the same thing?
I'm trying to be clever. I'm trying to be clever. You know what I mean? Trying to be
I think it's...
All right. So we done with Kanye. We done with Yeezy.
Please, yes. We got way too many other things to worry about. We're spread thin in our community because we're supposed to be standing with Cap, and Cap is like, I don't really need y'all to stand with me. I'm good. I'm getting this bread. My path is clear. I didn't really want to be out there. Somebody beat me up to make a few $100 million and possibly have a concussion. I'm gonna make a few $100 million and stand on the sideline and say nothing.
You know, it's funny you kind of say that. You know,
exactly.
But I ain't said nothing yet.
Right. Lamonte's he's gonna co-opt the point for himself.
Yeah, what you said?
You agree with me. You agree with me. I see it.
Stand with Cap.
You know, it is amazing, especially in Black America. But you know, this happens in all nationalities. I'm sure. But it's amazing to me how we are so attached to other people's outcomes, right? And none of those things have affected or moved in this analogy, goalpost, forward, in our benefit, right? I mean, I'm down to stand with Cap. I am standing with Cap. I'm still not watching football, but I'm not that big of a football head. But because I think he should be playing. But it is amazing to me, and I was telling my wife this, I was like, it's really sad how we all, going back, even back to, the slavery part of it, and how we're so disenfranchised in our community that we are such looking for a savior, that we are so attached to any and everybody at this point almost. It's like Lil Wayne's album is out, and I'm watching like all these different media outlets and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, Lil Wayne out in the Carter 5 and I'm just thinking, and maybe I'm out of the demo. Matter of fact, I am out of the demo, but I'm just sitting there thinking like, so what? Like, that's great. And I'm glad that, Lil Wayne finally got his album out, but that's not an attachment to my life. Usher's new album should not be an attachment to my life. Like,
well, I think
the things that's going on, that we are looking for these saviors in our community, still are not affecting the Black community. Like, and I know the bigger picture of it, but even when I look at like Black movies, Ryan Coogler and hopefully, and God bless them if they do. I saw that they're writing the Black Panther 2. But I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not going to benefit off of Black Panther 2.
But when you look at Kaepernick doing what he's doing, you can agree with it, disagree with it. You want to ride with it, not ride with it. I think we have to agree that the voice of somebody in the black community stepping forward and saying, look, these black men have been murdered in the street by police officers with no justice, that is an attachment to us. And
not to me.
Well, I agree with that, and I think that you're right.
No, but I'm saying, no. How is Maynard going to say that that's an attachment to me without me? Because it goes back to what you just said about Lil Wayne. I could care nothing else about Lil Wayne. You want to know one of the things I care about? How in the city of Detroit, people who are in a certain economic space where their water and sewage has been sold to a private company, and people are now paying 3 times as much money for sewage to flush their toilet.
Well, I mean, even the businesses in Detroit with the drainage, fees, the churches and the businesses, they got to pay more money on the drainage fees.
Lamont, I understand that you have particular issues that you care about.
And that's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is this.
So Kaepernick, who bounces a ball and throws a ball and runs and jumps,
Lamont,
what?
Not everything is a direct line from here to there. Sometimes there are points in between that we have to stop at. We didn't get to, for instance, integrate schools after Frederick Douglass was freed from slavery. I mean, there are lots of points, and it's a continuum. Things have to travel sometimes from point A to point Z, not directly. Sometimes there are lots of other spaces that we have to stop at in between. So if Colin Kaepernick, or years ago, Tommy Smith, or before that, Muhammad Ali, or before that, Paul Robeson, stands up for the rights of black people, whether it was about playing the game or Curtis Flood breaking down the concept of helping to create the free agency market, or Colin Kaepernick saying that these people, we need to pay attention to these people, you would say right now the same way. How did Muhammad Ali standing up saying, I'm not fighting for...
Nah, man, what you're saying is right. You are articulating the educational part of what it is,
and we
should be doing. We should be but right. But here's the difference, right? What you're saying is that when you see a Muhammad Ali say, "No, I'm not going to no dang Vietnam, ain't no Viet Cong, ever do anything to me. You my oppressor." That's what we stand up for. Here's my point,
and that's what Kaepernick is standing up for.
That I am with, right? But the attachment is where I think my issue is. Going back to Lamont's point, I should not attach myself with the fact of, because Colin Kaepernick has now increased Nike's bottom line to $6 billion, that I should be in line now supporting Nike. Like, that's not an attachment for me.
I'm not attached to that part.
That's what I want to separate. No,
okay. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But what I am saying is,
separate the two is, now what I am saying is that I stand with Kaepernick because Kaepernick made a stand to America, not just Black America, to America, to say, look, we playing the biggest sport in America. There are black and brown people who are getting shot in the street, being arrested for no reason. I need to make a stand for that. That, my man, I stand with you. Now, because you didn't win over here to Nike, and they didn't pay you $30 million or how much ever it was to, for you to be able to increase their bottom line, which I don't think that he did that in a direct way. But I'm just so amazed by the fact that we attach ourselves to things that are not in direct benefit to us. We should no disrespect to Jordan, the greatest basketball player. No, the second greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion.
Spud, I swear to God, I just had this argument with somebody else. But go ahead, keep going.
Okay, he's the second. He's not the greatest basketball player of all time.
Who's the greatest?
Magic Johnson's the greatest basketball player of all time. That's just me.
No. And the argument.
Nobody's better than Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson played the game 10 times better than anybody else.
Listen. We're going to address that, and I got to double back on the foolishness that Maynard was trying to get me to, and mostly attach myself to. Technically, right now, because of what he is doing off of the court, along with what he does on the court, which I don't like him on the court, LeBron, hands down,
is not the greatest basketball player of all time.
Listen what I'm trying to tell you.
Bill Russell is the greatest basketball player of all time.
No.
11. Look, my man Bill. Listen. Bill Russell played 13 seasons. He won 11 championships in 13 years. He won two of them as a player. He won two of them as a player
Johnson
coach.
Is the greatest basketball player on the court, off the court.
No.
Bill Russell is on the court. I'll give you that.
No.
I don't even want to say he's the best on the court. But
Isn't Bill Russell the one that had like 400 women?
No. Bill Russell. You're thinking about Will Chamberlain.
Oh, my fault. Okay.
And that was like, he said it was 23,000.
That's a lot of chicks. At any rate, my point is that as being black in America, we have been so separated and so detached from our history and our sense of self that we don't have enough. I don't want to say no. We don't have enough belief in ourselves that we are putting so much belief in something else. The belief that we have to stand in line for hours to get the brand new Jordan.
Yeah, that's the foolishness.
That we have to stand, that we are sitting around wondering about Usher's brand new album. That we're talking about, Jay's brand new album, which is fine. I'm all great with that. But those things, the attachment to that, to me, is ridiculous. And going back to your point, to what you are saying, and what I agree with you on, Maynard, and as we, segue into, I don't want to say segue, but as we are getting into this 2018, midterm election, the things that are important to us, we detach from. The things that are not important to us, we attach to. As much as I was mad at Reverend Al Sharpton, and I wanted him to sit his monkey ass down.
Whoa, wait a minute. We done had this conversation. We have had this conversation. And no, Lamont, don't worry, Lamont. Don't worry, Lamont. Lamont, I know where you're coming from. Spud, I rebuke that, sir. And I need you to take that back right now. Not just now, but right now, hot dang. Take it back.
Jesse Jackson, and not Sharpton, I'm sorry. It's Reverend Jesse Jackson. I need you to sit your monkey ass down and Aretha Franklin.
Goodness gracious, that instead of once, I've been said it twice. You're not going to be talking about a black man up here calling him in that fashion. There ain't going to be no black man that you're going to disrespect like that. You're not going to disrespect no black men that way.
Okay, I won't disrespect the black man that way. All right? Are you Elijah's pimp?
Wait. Spud.
W. Come up here disrespecting a black man?
No, Spud, you got to break that down because some people might not know what that was.
Woo. Come on, man. My man came up to Malcolm X and he was like, "Are you Elijah's pimp?" Anyways, listen. Jesse Jackson said something that was extremely profound at Aretha Franklin's funeral, and he said it's really sad that we got this many people out to Aretha Franklin's funeral, can't get this many people out to the polls, can't get this many people out to vote, got lines around the corner to go to the club, lines around the corner to get Jordans, lines around the corner to get the brand new iPhone, can't get this many people out to vote. Can't get this many people out to vote. And we show up for the wrong things. Can't beg nobody to register to vote. Taylor Swift get herself on TV, register 83,000 people in one day. I asked somebody to vote. Man, get out of here. I don't want to register to vote. The vote don't do nothing to me. And I'm just saying that we just show up for the wrong things in our culture. And it's really unfortunate that we don't know our history. I mean, even Tariq Nasheed, I was watching him on the Breakfast Club the other day, and they were asking about, are black people too forgiving? And he was like, yeah, we are too forgiving. And the reason why we are so forgiving is because we don't have any history of who we really are. The reason why, going back to Lamont's point, The reason why the neck rolling and the eyebrow rolling and the cornrow wearing, even though you my sister Angela Rye, I love you, why all that happens is because some of it, not all of it, is because we in defense mode. And
well, hold on,
there's a lack of history.
Take away cornrows. Because a way to black
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I'm just saying.
I love cornrows.
Exactly. Don't put cornrows in the attitude in the cornrow, because cornrows, they are part of who we are. That's the way of, not that hair grows that way, but black women's hair doesn't grow in a fashion that looks like Farrah Fawcett's hair or Bo Derek's hair or whoever you want to attribute it to. It is a natural hairstyle. So the idea that we continue to get the Angela Rye neck rolling and the cornrows as some kind of black minstrel show is just a shame. That's
no, it is. And I'm
sorry
that I even said that.
No. Maynard, pull up your dress. This is a podcast of men, and we're just having fun.
No,
I love you, Angela Rye.
Right, of course.
We want you to come on this show, please.
No, we ride for Angela Rye. Let somebody else say something about Angela Rye. It's gonna be a problem.
Right. It's gonna
be what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
Angela Rye might come for you. You don't want that. You don't want that because this is the last thing Lamont needs to see. Angela Rye come on the show talking about Lamont.
No, because
then all of a sudden you're gonna be back. You're gonna be buck dancing.
Now listen. Let's be clear. A lot of things we do on the podcast are in fun, and when we talked about cornrows, there was a particular episode, appearance on CNN where she had on cornrows. That's the way she
looking like Riley from the Boondocks.
No doubt. Angela Rye is hot. Let's keep it 100 now. You feel what I'm saying? So you and this old ultra-sensitive Me Too Maynard Scales feeling yourself, it's okay.
But it's the idea that for some reason that having a perm... Look, we talk about people being culture vultures all the time, right? We talk about people who trying to act like us or be like us and take from us. What is more authentic for a black woman than to wear her hair naturally? But isn't it not culture? Hold on, my dude.
You don't think that Angela Rye got a perm? You don't think Angela Rye got a perm?
What's got a perm?
Hold on.
Angela Rye got a perm?
Wait a minute. What I'm saying is to wear a relaxed hair, that is the ultimate form of culture vulturism. That's it. Like, you are actually changing who you are to look like somebody who you're not. That's culture vulturism.
Well, the last podcast, you didn't like fake booties, right?
No, I don't. The way a woman comes, look, I like women the way I like women. And you don't have to give me some fake booty or augmented breast or augmented breast for me. Like, I like you the way you are.
So you saying that when my mother got a relaxer, that she's being fake? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying is that we've trained ourselves to believe that that's what beauty is. And as a result of training ourselves on what beauty looks like based on white America or whatever the case may be, we have accepted that we're ugly the way we are.
So you're saying that my mother had a self-esteem issue when she got a relaxer?
Black people in general have. Yes, absolutely.
We're talking about my mother. Are you saying that my mother had a self-esteem issue?
First of all,
we are saying
I don't know your mama. I don't know Neto Jenkins.
Yeah, it's important for Black America to really
accept black people, accept us as we are.
But we can't do that and I did not understand the importance of this until just a couple of weeks ago. And that is the important, actually, when I was, watching that Breakfast Club interview with, Tariq Nasheed, and that was the importance of really knowing your history. Because if you don't know where you don't know where you come from, then it isn't going to matter, right? Because the sad part about Black America is that what they have taught us is that our history begins with slavery. Right? They don't even teach us anything. They don't even really teach us all the slavery part. But they're not teaching us about before then. They're not teaching us about our, origin or anything of that nature and about where our lineage is, actually comes from. And that really is unfortunate because we are so stuck in this victim mentality that it's difficult for us to be able to get out. And it's so hard for us to change the mindset, which this all is about, because all we know is what we've been taught, which, shoot, that's we could spend 2 hours on what we've been taught, what we haven't been taught, and so forth and so on, which is really unfortunate. And it really is important for us to be able to know our history and knowing, going back to my point, of what is important and what isn't important. And I'm just sad that we don't know how to do both. Going back to my Kanye point, it's like, I can't believe you. I mean, Kanye, like,
he's a fool.
Not that you got to vote. Not that you even got to vote. But you in here waving the flag for somebody you didn't even support. You ain't going to check the box for, I'm living in the house with all white women, and, you know, I mean, not white women. I'm living in the house with all women, and, you know, I just did.
No, you said it right. You said it right.
Energy, and, you know, and I just can't believe it. And when I saw the Make America Great Again, I just felt the male energy, and I felt like Superman. This hat makes me feel like Superman. This hat makes me feel like Superman.
He always has been this way. I mean, just the idea that he wrote a song called Big Brother.
Right.
You know, he's got daddy issues, and he needs to work on that. He needs to find out where the source of his own masculinity stems from. But all this conversation, this additional 40 minutes, is stemmed from me giving him the cactus. And you know, look, Lamont, you're right. This is the end of us discussing this guy. So I don't have nothing else to say about him.
Wait, I don't want to say that, because if Kanye come out with some positive stuff, we got to support the positive Kanye.
No.
Yeah, there's nothing that listen.
No,
there's nothing that Hitler can do to make me like. If they were like, well, you know, Hitler did build a rocket to the moon, I'd be like, still kind of the killing the Jews thing, a little bit bigger than that.
So there's nothing that Bill Cosby can do to make you say I'm back on the Bill Cosby team?
Look, let me. Listen, Bill Cosby.
Wow, you see that, Spud? You see how
I'm watching.
Let me say this.
He did the Allen Iverson, the stutter step.
What's the Joe song? Stutter?
Yeah.
Let me say this and be 100% clear. I am biased for Bill Cosby, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I know that lots of people are against him, and certainly Bill did something wrong, and I want him to pay his price, but I still got love for Bill Cosby. And that's just my thing.
Why? Why can you stand by Bill Cosby, somebody who sexually assaulted women, raped women, but somebody who goes into the White House and says, I want to do X, Y, and Z for the country to stand by my president, you write off.
First of all, Bill Cosby's never asked anyone else to go out and sexually assault women. You know, Kanye's asked people to go out and do
that's
whatever.
Even worse because he did it on his own.
Okay, the man is flawed and he's made mistakes, and so has Kanye.
No! Stop!
Ooh, stop. Get him, Spud. Get him.
You cannot sit here and say that the man is flawed, and you're saying that the man is flawed. And you're right. Right. You're saying that the man is flawed. In a Kanye West Donald Trump way. Oh yeah, he's a flawed president, but I still love him.
No,
he's a president.
Thing.
We're supposed to stand by him.
Kanye West is out here doing something that I feel like is extremely harmful to Black America, in a way that he is espousing and spewing his opinions upon in front of white folks, if you will, about who we are as a person. Now, what Bill Cosby did...
Is it to some white women?
Yeah, hold on. What Bill Cosby did is wrong.
It's to some white women.
But Bill Cosby was doing that, and no one was aware of what Bill Cosby was doing but Bill Cosby and his victims. That wasn't on display for the whole world. And had we not had Hannibal Buress go on stage and say what he said, this thing doesn't exist. But that doesn't make it right. That makes what Bill Cosby has done is wrong. Growing up in the community I grew up in, Bill Cosby was a part of Black America where we live. Bill Cosby is a Philly boy. You know, I'm a outer Philadelphia kid. I remember Bill Cosby at Penn Relays. I remember seeing Bill Cosby at track meets. I remember seeing Bill Cosby come to high school.
So these is father figure issues.
Bill Cosby was always what I knew of until these allegations and this case. Bill Cosby was always an upstanding person who did the right thing and did the right thing by others. Now, I wasn't aware of what he'd done with women in the privacy of his home or in hotel rooms or whatever the case may be. That wasn't my part to know, and that's an issue that Bill Cosby has to reconcile with his God.
So, Spudd, let me ask you a question. And did you know this? Because I didn't know this. Because I got into this Bill Cosby conversation the other day. And Bill Cosby even drugged some of the women that he was dating. And one of the women says, I was giving Bill the booty anyway. I don't even know why he put the drug in my drink. I was already giving it to him.
She gave it back like, hey, Bill, you ain't got to give me this. I was going to give you some anyway.
So there's some other stuff going on with Bill. I don't know if it was the time or whatever, but it's like a lot of these women were, even the one that they, I don't want to say used, I guess you could say, that he got convicted on, she was giving him the booty anyway.
I'm just asking, where is it that we are drawing the line on when we're getting rid of people and when we're not, especially in Black America? We're not getting rid of Bill Cosby. So Bill Cosby can come back and say, oh, yeah, we're all good. And men are going to be like, yes, you always looked at you as a father figure because I saw you at the Penn Relays when I was a kid. We're not getting rid of R. Kelly. We're not getting rid of,
I'm not down with R. Kelly. I said up front, I'm biased for Bill Cosby.
No,
I said that. I don't have a problem with that. I might be wrong. I'm on the wrong side of history with that, but I'm down with Bill Cosby as a person, as a man in certain ways. I'm disappointed in Bill Cosby's. I'm disappointed in the allegations and the crimes that Bill Cosby has been found guilty of. I'm disappointed in that. I do not like R. Kelly, and I don't like Kanye West.
You know why you don't like R. Kelly? Because you're not from the Midwest. You telling me Step in the Name of Love just don't move you like that?
I haven't really been a fan of much of R. Kelly's music.
Hey, watch this. And R. Kelly's never been convicted of a crime.
Yet.
Where's Bill?
It don't matter.
30 years later.
Here's the difference.
Here's the difference. Give R. Kelly some time.
I did not see Bill Cosby give anybody any pills. But I did see R. Kelly.
What'd you see?
Wait a minute. Don't be careful what you say, Spud. Be careful what you say.
I'm just saying, but I did see.
You can get a charge. You can get a charge now.
No, Maynard. It's known. He was always at the high school.
Okay. You saw R. Kelly what, Spud?
I just say I saw R. Kelly.
Yeah. What? You saw R. Kelly
that's all
what?
I'm going to say.
Okay.
I seen it.
Because if for some reason you seen like maybe some kind of videotape, that could be considered.
No, it's in person.
I was going to say in person.
Okay.
Right. No videotape.
All right, cool. I'm just making sure. I'm trying to. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on the podcast. But
can we play "Step in the Name of Love"? Are we allowed to do that on the podcast?
Yeah, let's play "Step in the Name of Love."
Yeah. On that note, are we stepping out or what?
We out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for listening to this episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic. We'll be back again on Tuesday. Make sure you check us out in Cleveland on WOVU 95.9. Make sure you get with us on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Three Black Guys with the Mic. Go to our website, get a T-shirt at threeblackguyswiththemic.com. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast. We're still trying to grow, baby. So share this episode with 3 people. Share this episode with your friends at work. Share this episode with your family members, with your political buddies. Share share it.
With somebody wearing Jordans and with somebody wearing Yeezys.
I don't know about the Yeezys part, but
share it with them anyway.
Share it with them anyway. All right. We talk to y'all next week. Y'all have a great week. Thanks. Peace.